Okay, welcome back. Hello everyone. Greetings from TCC. So now let's code for this grid view. So we have to bind the data. First thing we have to do, like we have to bind the data. Okay, whatever products user will add to the cart, it should be visible on this grid view. So let's see how to do that. So this is part 3, working with view cart. Let's go to CS file, the C# file. Okay, so we are here. There's a page load function and all the other events related to grid view are here. So let's see and let's go one by one. So what we are supposed to do here, the very first thing what we have to have the instance, like we had it in the product details.aspx.ca in the start, the instance of a cart like this. So let's copy this. Okay, carefully have a look and let's go to the view cart, and of course let's create the instance. So we just have created in the instance which has not been initialized. We'll do it here and we'll check it. Okay, so let's check in the page load. When the page loads, we check the first thing is like if the session, inside the session, if there is an entry called cart and which is not equal to null. Okay, which is not equal to null. Okay, just me put the square bracket properly and let me remove this. Yeah, okay, it is not equal to null, then only. So when the like cart is there, okay, so what we'll do, we'll just initialize this now. C equal to let's say session, give us a cart object so that we can make it visible on the grid view. Okay, so this is what we want to achieve. Of course the C is an object of cart and this is session object, which is, so we have to typecast it properly. So we can do one thing here, just copy this, okay, and just paste it here and put everything inside the bracket like this. Okay, so we are converting into this cart object itself and we are storing it in the C, and we are doing this when the cart is not equal to null, means there is a cart has been associated. Next, this, if this was if, then other, of course we have to put the else code also, else otherwise we have to ask user the very first thing to log in. So we can ask user to go and response.redirect on the login page. Okay, so we have login.aspx semicolon. Okay, now after this what we are supposed to do. Okay, so this is the very first thing with what we check, like when the page loads. Now we want a dedicated function, okay, which will be called again and again to bind the value or bind the data with the grid. So let's have the function called something called let it be private, and let it doesn't give us or return us anything, and let's see, we will call it as a rebind grid. Okay, enter. Okay, rebind grid. And what does happen here, like what happens here, like let's call the grid view, the ID was grid cart for it, and we are deciding the data source for it. Okay, the data source is coming from C, which is the cart, and inside that we have items. Okay, semicolon. So basically I hope you all remember why these items are here, because items was a here, let me show you once again. This was the shopping cart.cs code, and in the cart the very first thing, the only variable we had the items, which was the list of the cart items. So we are just adding here c.items. This is the data source for the grid view. Okay, and this has to be done, and after that let's call the function called data bind, so that data will get bind automatically. And then we also have the label called total label, remember, so that has to be again, you know, again and again revised whenever the rebind grid function is called. lbl total dot text property equal to total amount, and then concatenating it with the variable called c dot total. So cart also has the total as a variable, right? And let's say semicolon. So this has to get visible. Now coming back in the page load function, of course, so whenever the page loads, of course you have to call this function now, rebind grade. Okay, so yeah, here if, let's ask if the page is not getting refreshed again and again, so that means if page, this page, okay, we can call or address it with the page object. If page is post back, not post back, you can see the exclamation mark. Okay, that means page has not been sent or posted back from the server. Okay, so what we can do, we can call that function rebind grade, okay, which we just have declared here, and it will bind the data. And also let's put this code also here, like if c dot items, that means items in the cart, is equal to null, then that total label, that was LBL total label, it will be visible equal to false, semicolon. So this is what we have to do here in the page load function. So when we are, like, the very first thing we are checking whether the session card is not equal to null, and then if it is if it is not null, then of course we are fetching it from the session object, converting it into card object and storing it in the C. Else otherwise we'll ask the user to redirect himself to the login page. Also we are checking if the page is not getting loaded for the first time, then we keep on calling rebind. Okay, when we refresh it, so rebind grid will get called, so this function will get called, and in that what is happening, we are binding the grid view with the data source of cards with the items, we are binding it, and finally we are also displaying the total amount there. And if the card, in the card items, if the values are null, that means there are no items, so of course the total label or label associated with the total, there's no point of viewing it. So let's see, we have already binded the data, and let's see if it works fine for us. So let's go ahead and view it. Let's start with the login page, and let's see if things works fine. Okay, so we are on the login page. So let's log in tom@gmail.com, and the password was something. Then click on submit. Okay, let's go to category and let's go to yoga mat. Okay, we can click on view card also here also. Let's see if we click on view card what happens here. So it says like your shopping cart is empty. Okay, you can, if I like, and total amount is 0, of course. And if I click on add products, so of course it is redirecting me to the category page. Fine. So if I click on this category and if I add this extra organic mat and I say like add to cart, okay, so I guess it has been added, and again I have redirected to back to that page. And let's click on view cart and see if things have worked fine. Okay, so we have got the error here that the very first column in which we have just added the image, where the image should get visible, they are saying that product image URL is not the property. Okay, so what was the property name? So here we are getting the error in the view cart. Let's go to the source, and here the property name is product image URL. They are saying this is not visible. Okay, so what was the property name? Let's see. If we go to the shopping cart.css, we have created the getter and setter method for the properties of the cart items. So let's see what was there. Yeah, so it was product ID, product name, and image URL. So you can see we have declared the, see, we have the property called product ID. It's correct. We can verify. See, on the view cart .aspx.cs, we have a product ID. We are not displaying the product ID here, but it's okay, fine. We have a product name. Yeah, spelling is correct. You can check here. See, product name. Then we have quantity here. Of course, we have quantity here. So I guess this name we have to put. So let's copy this name, okay, and go to viewcard.aspx and let's change this name to image URL, not product image URL, so that it should get fetched properly. Let's save this and let's run it again. So let's log in again and we'll do it quickly. I'm closing the previous page. Okay, so log in and the password was Tom123 and let's submit. Okay, let's go to category, yoga mat, this yoga mat, add to cart, and if I click on view cart, okay, finally we are able to see the items placed in the shopping cart. But wait a second, I guess we can see the information twice here. Okay, so this thing should not be like this. Okay, it should only be like the product, like product image, a name, quantity, and then price, and then total, and this buttons. Okay, all these columns are not needed. So why these columns are coming here? So you can switch to Visual Studio, you can go to the design. Okay, you can select the grid view. Okay, click on this arrow. Okay, click on edit columns, and here you can see we have not unchecked this checkbox, auto generate fields. So let's uncheck it and say okay. Okay, and save this page, saving it and moving to here, and let's refresh this page. Now it is working fine. Remember, this is a grid view, and of course we can do the formatting later on. Okay, maybe like this line should not be visible if you don't want. Even you can change the template. Let me show you how to do that. So if you have this grid view, you can click on this, and here we have the auto format option. Click on this. Okay, so this is the generally the traditional format what we are getting here. We have the colorful format also. Okay, you can choose any of this, whichever you like. Okay, from here, slate, sand and sky, rainy day, snow pine. Fine, I'll choose the rainy day because this is looking nice, and I'll say apply. Okay, and then I'll say okay. Okay, and let's save this and let's view this. So it will look like this. Okay, and even you can customize this also, like you can change the font size, font style, font color. It's all up to you. Okay, you can do that on your own, I'm so sure. Okay, you can explore this thing by, you can edit any particular column also, like edit column. If you want to edit a column, like this is a product column, choose a product column, and you can change the color, control style, footer style, header style, what, like whichever thing you want to change, you can change it. Okay, fine. So I guess our job is done. Let's now click on this edit button. If I click on this edit button, so rest all the values were read only, so it will not reflect. Only in the quantity it was not read only value. That means we can make the changes here. We can make the quantity 2, we can make the quantity 3 here, and it will get updated. But wait a second, it is not responding with the update and the cancel thing because we have written the code for this functions event. I hope you all remember, we have added certain events associated with this grid view. That was, let me show you, viewcard.aspx.cs. yeah, this were like row deleting, row updating, and row cancelling edit, and row editing. So now let's complete the code for this. Okay, let's go one by one. So what should happen when we edit the row? Okay, so that's the first thing. So let's see, we just have to add 2 lines of code here, to the grid card. When we try to get the edit index equal to, and we are getting here, you can see the arguments also, which is there in the E. This is grid view edit event arguments. So E dot, we can get the new edit index. Okay, storing it in the grid card edit index from the E value, and again let's call the rebind grid function. So again it will get rebinded. Okay, so this function is done, row editing. Okay, the next thing we have row updating. Okay, here let's go with the row updating first, because we can update the rows, and you all know we can only, like, we were updating only the quantity, right? So let's have a text box here first, because we have to show the, we have to retrieve the value called text box. Say, like, we are declaring the object of text box, let's say txt quantity, okay, equal to, and on the grid cart, we, on the inside the rows, we had some e dot row index, okay, row index, and then says, okay, you have to find out the cell which particular cell it was. From the left hand side, it was cell number, quantity is 012. Remember, index position always start with 0, so this is 0, this is 1, this is 2. So coming back here, okay, from cell number 2 dot control number 0, the very first control, right? Okay, and this is how it works. So we are trying to fetch text box control basically. So here we are getting the error because we have to also convert it back into the text box. So the control has been fetched, and let's typecast it properly in the form of text box. Okay, so this is done. Then the next thing what we are supposed to do, we have to fetch the quantity out of it. So int qty, okay, for quantity equal to like text, we have the text box called txt quantity dot text. Of course this is the text and we are storing the value in the integer, so we have to convert it. So let's say convert dot int 32, okay, and put this thing inside the bracket here. So now we have got the quantity, enter, and if the value of that variable, that is qty, is equal to 0, then what we are supposed to do, we have to remove that product, right? So let's say c dot items dot remove at, not all, remove at, we have to pass the row index on whichever row we are operating, e dot row index semicolon. If the quantity is 0, then we have to remove it, else c dot items, we have to update the quantity here. So on that row index, we have the quantity property associated with the items equal to this quantity, that is qty, semicolon. And finally, after doing this, we are coming back to array index equal to -1 semicolon, coming out of it, and again calling the function called rebind grid. So data should get binded again, semicolon. Okay, so this is done for row updating. Row editing is done. Then let's do it for row cancelling edit. Okay, and very simple the code is, like, we just have to copy this and put it here in the row cancelling edit also. And for row deleting, here we just have to say, if we are deleting, we are clicking on deleting, so we need to have this code. See, c.items.remove add e.index, and finally again calling the function called rebindGrid. That's it. Okay, so pause for a video for a while and check properly like what code has been written in all these 4 events. Okay, save it, and now let's run it. If it works fine, let's see. So let's go to login page once again. Let's start from the login page. Okay, here we go. So Tom 123, and let's say submit. Okay, let's go to category. Let's go to yoga mat. Open this, say add to cart, say view cart, and if you say edit, so this, let's say 2, and let's say update, so it is getting changed. See, the total amount has got changed. If I say delete, it will get deleted. So everything works fine. Our view cart is working superb. So I hope people have understood everything here, like how we have written the code. So kindly write the code in the same manner, and the very last final thing which we'll be covering in the next video, which is we have to write the code for this place order button. Okay, that's it from this video. Thank you so much.
That's all guys from this video. If you really like this video, press like button and do subscribe to our channel. If any queries or suggestions, do comment below. For more such updates, follow us on Instagram and Facebook.